Morning, everybody. Great to see all your beautiful faces again. All right, let's begin. Let me get the boring stuff out of the way. Before I say, Tel Aviv, it's great to be back. Mama Tzab, Tel Aviv. See? I've been learning my Hebrew. Echaya lechayom. See, pretty good. What do you think? All right, this is me, Sani Yusuf. I'm a Google developer expert. It's kind of this thing that Google does. They kidnap a bunch of us and put us in a room and make us call ourselves this. Most an author. I write. If you're crazy enough to read some of the things I write, good luck. And I train people. People actually pay me money to teach them Angular. I don't know. If you make a lot of people laugh, you can get away with a lot of things. And I'm an avatar enthusiast. This one I have to say, in case you don't know what Avatar is, in case your head has been in the sand somewhere, yes, I like the movie Avatar, and yeah, I really like watching it. I even learned the language. Whoever is on this timeline, my timer is not running, so I actually don't know how long I have, so background people, please fix that. And I got an Israeli name. Ze'ev. Exactly. They call me the wolf. I'm the wolf man. If you got a cooler name than that, we can do that. So, today I'm going to talk to you about the web. I'm actually going to talk to you about something a bit different in terms of, we're going to talk about the web in general. What do I mean by the web? When I say web, I mean, of course, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript applications and the environment that you need a browser for. Right? But not just that, the web is beyond that today. And this was the web before today. This is actually the very first website that was ever made by Tim Berners-Lee. It was basically documentation for the web, the World Wide Web. And it was focused mainly on content. In 1990, can't remember, I think it's 92 or 93 or 91. It has to be one of the three. Tim Berners-Lee created HTML and all of that to make it semantic. And the whole point is that we would be able to create all these documents. The whole point was displaying information at that time. And it was focused mainly on content. There was no interactivity at all. You didn't expect to come to a web page to see games, animations, or anything like that. You were there to see some information or read some fake news and go back home, you know? Pretty standard stuff. And let's not even talk about browser support at that time. You know, we had like Netscape, whatever that is, and I actually didn't really grow up in the Netscape era. I grew up in the Crazy Browser era. Did anybody use Crazy Browser? Really? Just one? No. So I grew up in the Crazy Browser era. That was like the hipster thing at that time. People that didn't want to use Internet Explorer, you'd use Crazy Browser. And that type of model still works today. Who knows this? Craigslist. Exactly. This is actually one of the most profitable companies in the world. Because they don't make a loss. Their website is this. If you make a loss while your website is this, then you have a big problem. And does anybody know Echo? So Echo is actually an interesting website because it's actually one that I hold dear to heart. So Echo is a site that this is where I actually learned HTML as a kid in Africa. I didn't really have internet. I'll go to these cyber cafes and go and read HTML, and I'll learn how to make a text bold, and I'll go and brag about it, like, hey, look. B tag, you know, underline. I could do that. Hey, come on, guys. I grew up in Africa. Some people didn't even have computers, right? It wasn't easy. Exactly. So Echo is actually a website I still like this till today. And for me, it's actually one of the most designed websites. Like sometimes I actually don't use W3 schools. I go to Echo because it's very well laid out and it works. And Craigslist as well, very similar. So if you didn't have a web application a few years back, maybe 10, 20 years back, the desktop was the only alternative. Who remembers this? Yeah, Encarta Encyclopedia, right? And this guy. Yeah, this is the guy I used to cheat, you know? They would give me an assignment. I remember giving my very first assignment when I was learning how to code, and I just went to like Yahoo and just view source and just copied everything and just pasted it on Dreamweaver and did it, and I got an A. Well, here I am today, so it worked out fine, right? And this was Encarta, because I loved Encarta really well, because that was our Wikipedia of the time. You know, he who had Encarta was enlightened. That's where you went online, like on your computer, and you to get one of these, you had to like have that thing, you know, this huge floppy disk, and you had to put it in intervals. Floppy disk 1, 2, 3, and if you messed up that was it. Like your Windows was gone, right? Literally. So you had to be really, really careful. Or these guys, where you'd have, you know, disk 1, disk 2, disk 3, and you'd install in intervals. And this is why I used it, because, you know, I couldn't afford to buy the original one. Come on, nobody bought the original Encarta. Everybody bought the torrented version. And let's not forget another problem that we had. We had really, 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 really messy standards. There was DHTML, whatever, I think it means dynamic HTML. And then there was XHTML. That was the one where everything was strict. You had to close a paragraph tag, and you had to have the right version number. And there was UHTML, there was me HTML, and, you know, everyone HTML. Like, exactly, there was like different versions of HTML available there. And it was not a good time to learn how to use the web. Like, it was not really fun. And if the most interactive thing we had on the web was the marquee. Who remembers marquee? Where you'd have this thing moving, and it was so annoying, because you go to these people's pages and they had like 600 marquees. They basically created ad block, literally. And I was like, can't we do anything better? So, you know, what the hell happened? Like, how did we get to where we are today, where we have like websites that are very rich, like Facebook and all of that? So a bunch of things happened. The first one is broadband happened. You know, faster internet came, and it became accessible. It became cheap to actually really use the internet. Well, not cheap, but it was really, really fast. When we started using the internet, we used dial-up. You know, yeah, exactly. We used that. Like, I mean, if you come from my country, like our cyber cafes had dial-up, so it was like nobody could make a phone call, and it was like a multi-business, right? The average cyber cafe in Nigeria growing up was a multi-business. So they ran a phone center and an internet cafe. So if somebody was paying for the phone, y'all couldn't browse. So it was like, it was sort of this queue of things, and that's what we had growing up. But when the broadband came, it was faster internet everywhere. I actually did not get broadband till I think 2000 and maybe 6 or 2007. That's when I actually got broadband. I was like the first guy in my entire school. Like, I think I didn't know any other guy that had a broadband, because I had a laptop, and my uncle had bought me a new laptop, so I decided to sell the other laptop and to buy broadband. And how did I afford it? Because my dad wouldn't pay for my broadband. So I'd go online and download illegal music, and I'll go to school and say, hey, you want the latest song? I've got the latest songs. You want the latest video? I've got it. And that was how I paid my way to broadband, literally, because my dad didn't understand, what is this broadband thing? What is internet? And I don't blame them. And we had bigger content. You know, we had bigger images coming through. Videos was a thing. It was around this time that YouTube, I think, popped up with the very first video of the guy in a zoo, right? YouTube came out, and so people started building a little bit more interactive applications. I think it was at this time HTML5 was being standardized, so we were writing really cool applications. Yahoo Messenger, MSN, AOL, we were doing messaging as well. And more input options became available, right? So if you grew up like in the 90s or something like that, and you had your first computer around that, you had a mouse, you had a keyboard, and that was about it. That was all you could do. Like, I know people that didn't even use the mouse. They used the keyboard to do everything. But then touchscreen computers, you remember those annoying HP touchscreen computers that you'd almost have to put your finger through the screen for it to work? Yeah, and then cameras, scanners, all these different inputs, microphones, they all started coming through. So, and those gamers that use that thing, I think some of them still use it till today. Very interesting mice. And so we had different types of input now to way to send data in. and AJAX came. The funny thing is AJAX did not come till I think 2005 or around, but it wasn't in mainstream till, because there was a time when you'd look for a job. I think 2007, 8, when I really started looking for jobs. They'd be like, oh, you need to know AJAX. It was like on the job spec. And I used to be like, ah, this is a football club? Like, because there's a football club called AJAX in, in Netherlands. And that's the only AJAX I knew. So I was like, what is this AJAX thing? But all it is like, it's so crazy. Back in the days, you couldn't send asynchronous requests. If you needed to do anything, it was post or get. And that was the only way you could send a request or to change, refresh your browser. I remember the very first version of Facebook. When you got a new post on your wall, you had to refresh, scroll all the way down, reply, and do the same thing again. And I was glued to my screen. So AJAX came. This was another thing that made the web a bit more interactive. But this is the most important thing. Who's ready to see the most important thing? Let's see. All right. This guy. So there was this interesting guy called Steve Jobs, very smart guy. And he decided that, hey, he was going to create this iPhone, and you were going to spend your life savings, and you were going to buy it, and you were going to use it. And then 1 year later, they would release a new one, and you were going to pay for it. And it's continued. It's very interesting. Like, they removed the headphone jack, and people still bought it. They removed the button. No, there's no buttons. And people still buy. Next year, maybe they remove the screen. Alexa iPhone, And I promise you, people will queue for 3 days. And they would even be like, no, you don't need the screen. Come on, how many times do you look at your screen? Be honest. Like, you don't need the screen. Apple know what they're doing. I saw this coming, don't worry. But this was very important because this was where the concept of apps came to be, right? So we started seeing really interactive applications, mobile apps, and what the effects of mobile were great to the industry because these things came. NFC, Bluetooth, camera, and we could not just take pictures of camera. We could do videos, we could stream, we could Skype people, accelerometer. We could play games with our mobile phones and shake the little tablets. And if you see these little kids these days using this, and it's so intuitive. Like I don't know if anybody has kids in their house. Like I don't have any kids, but I've seen it work where they just look at the iPad and they just know exactly what to do. Like they know how to go to the game and hold it. They know how to turn. It's very intuitive. And these things came, NFC and advanced camera access. Like before we could just take pictures. Today people can take pictures and put funny pictures on their head called filters and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Augmented reality and virtual reality. And GPS became, it was so important now to stay connected in terms of your location. And that also became a thing. And so native was born again. What I mean by native is, of course, when you're using the device-centric tool. So before the mobile came, native was basically just Dreamweaver and the browser and Paint. Those were native apps. But native was born again now as mobile applications. And what this meant for you, if you owned a company at that time, is that you had to rewrite your applications once again. You had to go and before the iPhone came, or around the iPhone came, there was already Facebook. People were using Facebook, but now they needed to be an iPhone Facebook application. They needed to be an Android Facebook application. I remember when Instagram came. Instagram was iOS only for a very long time. And I see my friends post on Twitter these very nice pictures, and I was like, I can't afford an iPhone. And then it came on Android, and everybody hated us because they're more Android users. And you had to learn new skills as well. You're used to creating these web applications with your PHP, Perl, CGI, all those things that we used to write before. Now you have to learn Objective-C, which is the most beautiful language in the world. And you have to buy new tools. You have to buy WebStorm now. You have to buy IntelliJ, all these things. You have to invest in these tools. You have to pay for Google Play Store, iTunes Connect. And each of these applications have different experiences as well. So, iPhone users expect an experience. iOS users expect a different experience. But back in the days, Dreamweaver was just Dreamweaver. You know, if you know how to use Dreamweaver in one place, it works the same way. The same way with a web application. If you know how to use a web app, it just works on the same browser. I mean, Internet Explorer, yeah, you know what I mean. And there's no reuse, because now you have all these new teams you're paying for, and they all want to kill each other because they think they're the best. iOS developers think they're the best. Android developers, no, they don't think they're the best, actually. They know. And it's just a bit crazy. And the reason why, like, what about the web? The reason why that happened is, it's very simple. I'm not going to sit here and try to be like the web sucked. It really, really was a terrible place. Like, you couldn't really do anything tangible with the web. And it's changing. It's not 100% true today. And why did the web suck? It's single-threaded. The whole web, JavaScript runs on one thread. So you can't do multi-thread. You can't do really advanced things. There was little to no data persistence. You had cookies, and that was about it. And minimal interactivity, Marquee and AJAX, it wasn't enough. Cross-browser shenanigans, and you had to decide which Internet Explorer 6. The best thing I've seen done by a website is there was this Russian website, if you checked out with Internet Explorer 6, they added $25 to your basket. You had to pay for the support. And they'll write it there. Just download another browser and it's free. But if you insist on using Internet Explorer 6, I think more people should do that. Exactly. Like, add people money, pay for the support. You know? And were there any solutions? Well, of course there were solutions. Remember this guy? Flash? Exactly. Great tool. Awesome tool. ActionScript, right? Shockwave and Flash. Rich user experience. You know, you could use the camera and some of these things. Who knows miniclip.com? This is where I spent this is why I didn't do well in school. Exactly. And there was just one problem with Flash. The user must be installed in Flash, must have Flash installed. They must have a Shockwave, which is something I don't even know what that is. And they must have the correct version, first of all, right? And if you don't have broadband, forget about it. And then the Flash application was 75 megabytes. This last one, because as a kid in Nigeria, I used to spend, I think, half of my day to download Shockwave. Literally. I'd spend like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in the cyber cafe to download Shockwave on that computer. And then I come the next day, they've already reformatted all the computers. Because I wanted to play games. So it was, if your connection was slow, you were in trouble. And that was the only thing, and it wasn't really good enough. Exactly, why this long stuff? The web sucks. It did suck. But maybe not anymore. I think we've all seen why it sucked. We want to use the web to do everything. We all agree. But why does it suck? Or does it still suck? And not necessarily. So now I'm going to show you some APIs today that are available that you can use that maybe you did not know existed, or maybe you did know that they existed, and you can see some cool stuff you can do with them. The first one is Web Speech API. Has anybody here used the Web Speech API? Exactly, there's a few amount of people, exactly. So the Web Speech API allows you for speech detection, because there's a research that shows that as we use our phones more and more, we actually can't be bothered typing. We are lazy creatures, you know. We can't be bothered typing anymore. It's just, I mean, they made WhatsApp for you to type, but people still send voice notes. Hey, they're like, we just want to do everything. If you look at all the futuristic films, they don't type. The way they talk to a computer, interact with a computer is they talk. You know, Alexa or Google or whatever, Gideon, if you watch Guardians of the Galaxy. And you can also recognize speech in different languages. So I'm going to quickly show you a demo for this one. Don't worry, I didn't build these demos, so if they don't work, we're just going to yeah, it's not my demo. And before I actually proceed, so this happened last year. Was anybody here last year? Exactly. So I'm going to just so in case you don't know what happened, that's what happened. Someone flew a drone at me on stage. It was interesting, but we'll move on anyways. But I got a great picture out of it, so. Very good question. Very, very good question. All right, so my first demo is going to be, where is my first demo? That's a good question. Yes. So I'm going to hope that this will really work. And this is a speech recognition website where if you tap and you say the name of the color, the background color changes. So what color should we go for now? Pink. Is there pink? What color can I pronounce that we go for? Well, let's try like blue, red, you know. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. All right, so again, fingers crossed. So we're going to say, let's try aqua, the first one. I'm going to click aqua. There we go. And it changes. Oh, this is cool. Yellow. Let's try something more difficult. What do we try? Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I've got the time. Who wants to come and say a color? Anybody? Do we have a volunteer from the crowd? Anyone? Okay, nobody wants to take my offer. Turquoise. Hey, not bad. So, I wouldn't click it. But it's like, oh wait, I know what we do. So in 3, 2, 1, we're all going to say lime. And let's see if we can break my computer. So, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. We'll try again. 3, 2, 1. Boo. Lime. Thank you very much. But anyways, this is really cool because you can actually have your speech recognized and you can do a lot of crazy stuff. And it supports multiple languages as well. And the links to these demos are all available. Like I said, I'm not going to take credit. These are the MDN demos for this. So we're going to go on to the next guy. The next one is web workers. Like I said, JavaScript is single-threaded, right? It has one thread. But now you can actually create multiple threads. You can actually... So if you need to do something very complex that's going to block your thread, you can just move it up to a new thread. You can create new threads. You can do all your heavy lifting out in there. So if you want to spy on people and take their information, Cambridge Analytica, great place to do this, you know. But no, you can't because the thread does not have access to the DOM. So there's thread safety. So let's quickly see a demo for this guy as well, for the main thread. And for this guy, I'm actually going to go to my very good friend, W3 Schools, because they have the best demos. And you can just basically, this is just basically start a worker. You start a worker, and what the worker does is this counter is inside the worker, because one of the things that actually makes pages, causes memory leaks or makes pages slow is all these blocking actions exactly, and the timeouts and all that sometimes can be intensive, but you can just move that elsewhere. I've actually seen a research where someone is trying to render part of the Angular app in a web worker. That's really good. So the change detection system, it's a research running in the web worker. That means that change detection system is not taking any resources in the main thread. So that's pretty cool. But I feel we can do a lot of stuff with this as well, the web worker. You can create multiple threads and really do a lot of cool stuff. So for animations, that's a great place to just push all your calculation and all of that, all your algorithms. So we're going to move on ahead now. Okay, I can see my time. And the next one is the getUserMedia API. Anybody uses Snapchat here? Good, nobody. Anybody uses Instagram? There we go, yeah. The funny thing is actually the most popular story application in the world, guess what it is? It's actually WhatsApp. Has more active users because a lot of people from the third world are now using WhatsApp. So that's the thing. My mom uses WhatsApp and everything. Exactly. Even though sometimes she calls me on the face call and it's like, hello. And I'm like, Mom, no, you're supposed to put the phone so that I can actually see you. It's not like, hello, can you see me? No, I can't. I can see your eyes. So like I call it a Snapchat API. It allows you to stream, get the stream and direct that to a div or something, some container, and grabs camera live feed. So let's see a quick demo of this. So I have this running here in this guy here. So if I open this, you can see my very, very pretty face. And that's the thing. So this is a stream that is constantly streaming now. And I can capture that stream. So what this allows me to do is I can actually create a Snapchat now on the web. I can capture that stream, direct this to just a normal div. I don't need to use like a Flash or anything like that. And I can do a lot of cool stuff. So you can do augmented reality, Vision API. There's a research I did where I used the Microsoft Vision API to detect if a person was smiling and to what degree they were smiling, or if they look like somebody. So this is really, really, really cool. I'm just gonna close my security thing, exactly. But that's another really, really cool. And like I said, the links to these demos are on the slide. So when I publish them, you have access to them to really go and play with them. And of course, we know all about Service Worker and Push API, push notifications, service workers. They allow you offline support. They give you an app-like experience, and they give you unlimited data persistence. There's also other APIs like me that's still in draft. There's also other APIs, part of the Service Worker, that allow you to do background sync and push notifications now. They're all available. You can actually do these things today. And other APIs to watch out for, you can do web payments. It's really coming. That's another one I'm watching out. Browser support is pretty much iffy. But what that allows you to do is now you can have a centralized payment system, and that's really cool. Another one I think is very important is the web share. You know, when you share from app to app in the web, it can be a bit difficult because it's all based on links. But how about if you could share from app to app as well? And the web share API is doing that. Web Bluetooth. If you want to learn about this, just Google Yuri Shekid. I think he has 200,000 stuff on this. And it's already happening today. You know, this is a progressive web app running on the Chrome browser, those Starbucks. This is Twitter progressive web app running on a Microsoft computer. So web is the new native. It's happening already, and you don't want to miss out on this. So what I'm going to say is, let's all build the web together. It's our effort. Let's try. Let's contribute. Let's talk about what we need, because the web we want is the web we should build. I was teaching a class and I found out, like, for example, there are 3 states in a checkbox. There's checked, unchecked. There's also interdeterminate, which is not checked or checked, because one guy had a company that needed it and they thought it was a great idea. But we might not need it, but somebody else might. So let's all build the web together. To find me online, Sani Yusuf on Twitter, saniyusuf.com. Literally, you can just Google my name. I think, yeah, you can find me now, you know. You can just Google me. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. This is my 3rd time. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Tel Aviv. Toda. Thank you.